Yeah, I was there about. You know, if you talk to Stone Cold about his tournament victories with Rebellions, and you probably have because he loves to talk about them, he will tell you that they win by getting inside people's head and stopping you from playing your own game. 3M did not stop playing their own game. They came out and ran their comp, the old car comp, and it worked. So, no, go ahead. Boy, this will be interesting. Okay, same comp from the blue team, very different comp from the red team. This time, no Destros, and they go more of a launching comp. I do think they made the right gamble on Verified, who is on CS1, not going pods. They're not going to need it. Instead, they'll be able to launch over and over again on these support ships. This, to be honest, I have to say, this is the comp, if you are running old car, you do not want to go up against an all launching comp like this with two 6-in carriers.
And guess what I did as a newbie Ladanian? I was
What's
muted
that?
for the first beginning. Anyways, so yeah, this is the third match of the finals, guys. Yeah. Old car from 3M though. Ladanian's been. You can only hear Ladanian, so Ladanian's saving the day. But we have double carrier BC no pods. Over, Levy opening constant mutation. Overlord of the Plague, kiting BC, and a Guardian Rebellions not being industrious time. A Guardian on the outside. So we're just gonna
So,
forget that little newbie thing on my last cast of the day. So Existential's having a hard time with all these launches. Shut up.
it's just funny. Um, so yes, Existential is getting launched on heavily. It's interesting to think, why are they concentrating on Existential as opposed to any of the other support ships? I suppose it's because he's the one at this point that can really push them back and do damage. So if they can make him uncomfortable diving in for a plague, they're going to be able to stay out and launch farm
Hmm.
for longer.
Especially since they don't have a Raven or any way to deny this Overlord. Unlike previous comps which we've seen 3M do, where they had to say an Overlord, but then there was a Raven opposite them. In this case, the Overlord is not going to have to worry about any deny, at least
So
early
we
in the
did
game.
just see Reich get an EMP off on Nut Butter, the Red Raven, but that's actually the worst kind of exchange as far as a Raven has occurred. The Overlord got his Plague off, and then the EMP hit. That's actually worse from Riker's perspective than just not EMPing at all, because that means he was going to be down to 0 anyway, and now you can't EMP later. You have a little bit less energy.
Actually, no, Red Team doesn't have a Raven. Sorry, you were saying the Red Team Raven got it.
Sorry, I
No
meant I
worries.
meant the Blue Team Raven.
Yeah,
So, shall we take a quick look at the farm?
let's do it. Who's the
Uh,
farming winner?
Looks like it's the red team handily winning with 840 right now versus a near 600 on the blue team. So, okay, so you might think to yourself, well, again, the old car comp, it's a comp that's designed to work more slowly, and that's what we saw last game. They started off behind and then built up their lead over time, especially when they got a kill. This time, though, the farm lead is much more significant. It's almost like 1/4 to 1/3 farm lead, and
Yeah.
that's because they have this launching comp that really does counter old car. So you have to ask yourself, you know, how is this game going right now? Is this the kind of deficit that they were hoping to play behind? And I'd say probably not.
Yeah, I agree. They're getting pushed too far back. I mean, this was sort of a decision that they were probably making when they were choosing the comp they were running. Do they run old car again, knowing that they were able to win quite handily last time with it? And rebellions, probably rebellions, or actually, I'm not sure who's the captain of this team, actually? I'm not going to even
Uh,
declare who's captain
I
because
think it's Son Goku, actually.
okay, captain of the Freelancer Lions, probably had a comp decision thinking, you know what, is Luigi going to be running another old car comp? And they probably bet that they would. Perhaps that's because that's what this team, the only comp this team is fully comfortable with. But
Hmm.
that is a disadvantage because even once they see old car, they know exactly how it plays out.
But I said Son Goku. He is on the other Red Lions team. You know, it's interesting. This is a best of three, right? And in each of the last two games, it seems like the team that has repeated its comp has been punished for it. Rebellions won handily in the first game. They then repeated their comp, got punished for it. It got countered. Next game, 3M comes in, wants to repeat their winning comp. Then it gets countered. So, yeah, this is the comp that they're most comfortable with, I'm guessing. It's the one they've run the most in this tournament. But they got countered. So we'll see
Yep.
where this goes.
And because this is, the core of this team is actually very Eclipsis based. This is actually a problem Eclipsis has had in the past. They rerun the same comp which worked once, and then it just gets denied so handily the second time.
Of
We know.
course, I don't want to give the audience the misimpression that this game is over. It's definitely not. Anything can happen.
Let's take another
And
quick look at the
yeah,
farm count actually in that score.
uh,
So we've got just above 1,200 farm for the red team, so for the Freelancer Lions, and now 900 farm for the 3M. So the deficit is widening. Now it's a 300 farm lead.
if you take a look at the Levs only, Admin 6 is at 234, whereas Luigi is at 166. So not terrible. Maybe something that he can make up over time with the Corruptors. But then will he be able to cash in on that Corruptor investment? Luigi actually is parasited, so he will be not able to set up any warp tricks for the time being. We want to do a quick upgrade count. Warlaster has not upgraded, whereas Ultima Theory and Stone Cold have. They have 9 and 12 ints, respectively, and they are sending on one of those support ships, but it gets stormed. And 3M has to go back and heal again.
And they're going to be doing that a lot.
Oh, a little bit of a derp stop from
Uh-oh.
Bunny. This is very
This could be it.
dangerous. Everybody is launching on him, and Rebellions is coming in as the guard. They decide not to go for the kill. I think probably wise.
Yeah, but
if it had been
these
just
ints are going
a
to
little
hurt.
bit longer of a stop, they would have been dead.
Yep. And this is the danger of the old car comp. Later in the game, if you have good players, it could be really deadly. But the problem is you have to survive that early game. You have to survive past the first 15 minutes until everyone can get their spells up. So, for example, Riker was around, but all Riker could do is transfer shields. He doesn't have the minerals yet to get the defensive matrix, which would be the saving grace for this comp later on. And Luigi's already beefed up his Corruptors to level 4, and he's actually doing pretty well. He's already at 6/10, 3 armor just to counteract those launches, but look, he's in the red and he has to go back to heal.
Beggy's coming out with 7 lasers. I think that's the right choice from them. That's going to help them counter these launches at least a little bit. War coming out with 13 ints and Warp and ints. And maybe build towards Siege in the long run, but either way, you just can't go wrong with lasers right now in a Destro. It's going to help counter the launches, help farm, and help do damage. Look at that. Look at what Beggy's doing right now. He was plagued, and then he was already hitting repair bots. This is something you see a lot of the better Destro players do. He didn't wait until the plague was over and he actually lost his stuff. He just hit it so that they were working simultaneously, almost just staying there and not losing health.
And a bit of a push here by 3M, but of course they don't have a comp that can actually push yet, so they just have to hang tight. War Alistair's got his 13 ints. Bunny just went for more energy for the storms. Riker just going for more energy. Existential again, more plague. Actually, Existential went for the range and the speed. And Luigi's now starting to go get a little bit of bile, but still at level 4 Corruptors. And Beggy is going for 7 lasers, 5 armor, which you have to go for the lasers with such a big launching comp. And Luigi's in trouble
Luigi
here.
is actually really getting beat up on. Everybody
Yeah, this
is
could be
sending
a
on him.
problem.
I don't think they're going to be able to get a kill
Launch
here.
your
but
shit, launch your shit.
No, the more time Luigi does have those Corruptors, but if he's not out there farming, if he's not out there helping to push, it's tough.
And to note he's got a parasite on him, he's probably going back. He can't afford it. He's probably going back for rapid regen, but I can't afford it. But he should get it because that's with the energy as with the corruptors, he at least can spam it and counteract some of the
Now,
damage he's taking.
one lesson, if I could just make one quick point about being contained. When you are contained, you cannot afford to take extra damage at your own prisons in your own base. Look at this. The blue team finally able to push out and get some modicum of farm, right? And yet look at them. Warlaster already been plagued twice. Riker already been plagued twice. One more plague, and it looks like Nutbutter is going in for it, and they're burning, and they have to go back to base right away.
Yep.
So you cannot afford to take any extra damage while you're being contained. You have to be able to push out and actually stay out, and not just go back right away.
Yeah. I mean, the saving grace is the Raven has most of its shields, and the Arbiter also has most of its energy left. But then the problem is that what can the Arbiter? Arbiter can't really transfer on anybody at the moment, and it doesn't help the Zerg ships, which are getting hurt as well.
Exactly. It's not like these ships need to be in there kiting, but for the noobs that may not know this, and Riker narrowly avoided this situation, any support ship or a carrier, plague them 3 times and they will burn. So once you've been plagued twice, you have to be very careful. You basically have to go back to base at that point. After that, you're continuously taking damage from the plague and the burning, so you won't be able to warp at all.
So quick check on the upgrades. We've got Rebellions has 10 Broodling Strike as well as 11 Needle Spines. Stone Cold's got his 12 Interceptors. Ultimate Theory's at 10, so 10, 12 Interceptors for the Lions. Seastone's gotten his lockdown, which is perfect because he needs to be countering the Raven and the Arbiter.
It's interesting going for the Broodlings this early. They're up ahead, and they feel like they have enough of a lead that they can go for it. I think they're also learning a little bit from how the old car comp was played last game, where we saw heavy force field used from Bunny countering the spines on the Guardian. This time they're thinking, let's go for some DPS on the Guardian that cannot be denied by these support ships. It holds up really well, and it goes through force field. It also holds up really well against D-Matrix, because it's a lot of little attacks doing a little bit of damage.
And I'm getting a request to hide the background, but unfortunately, no, I can't, though I just tried it. I should have probably known that to begin with.
Yeah, that's Zidu, if you're watching this, and I assume that you are.
Implement the third team.
That would be a great thing for you to do.
Implement the third team so we have control. This is horrible, but, Zedu created this awesome game, which is basically the only game I play. So,
And yet we still drive him like slave drivers that we are.
I know. All those balance threads, all the raging over the changes to the BC lately.
So the farm count has really started to look very skewed. We have 2,230 for the red team, 1,560 for the blue team. So we're at more than a 50% deficit. If you look at the levies, Luigi at 300, Admin 6, where is he? 500, so an even more significant disadvantage.
Yeah, when you look at this does not paint a pretty picture for 3M. I mean, I hate to call things early, but this is not looking good for them.
It's not looking good, and it kind of shows you something about the limits of comps. There are comps with support ships that can play from behind, and this game's not over. They could get a kill, and that would really change things. I mean, imagine how much things would change if they killed a levy or got a good vortex or something like that. But there is an amount of farm deficit that you really cannot overcome through just having better ships. And once you get to 50% or more, you're getting into that danger zone of it may be too much to come back from. That said, if they can keep this Raven in the game, if they can get PDDs, neutralize the levy, if they can get force fields, neutralize some of this other damage, get a good vortex off, get a good siege off, you never know. That they can turn this game around, but I would say as the longer it goes on, the window is closing.
Yep, and eventually, of course, that's going to make them take more and more risks. Perhaps try to do a warp, to try to do something to try to even things up.
And isn't that exactly what we saw from Rebellion's team last game?
Exactly.
They knew they were behind, they went for a warp trick, in the end it was their undoing.
So I have to ask, post in the chat, I'm looking at the stream right now, it looks like it's lagging. Can you guys let me know? Because then I can try to change something. It could be my upload speed is having some issues, my bandwidth.
So Same history is repeating itself. Finally, the blue team gets to push out of their base. Riker and Bunny, the BC and the ARB, have been plagued twice, and they actually have a little bit of low shields. One more
Ew.
plague, they gotta go back home.
They have to stay away from the front lines. They're an easy sniping target at the moment. Whose ping was that?
I didn't see a ping.
I saw a ping. It was a blue ping. I think it was existential. Possibly pinging about brood placement.
Okay, so we're getting the upgrades, and we actually have a vortex from Stone Cold the Carrier. So we'll see what they try to do with this. They may be thinking to themselves, let's get a kill. Let's do something here. Or probably more likely they're just thinking it's just a safety
Yeah.
text. Massive launch on Bunny.
12 and 12 ints. Also, Seastone warped in, has pods now. Just extra lasers, not much else at the moment, aside from the energy to support the lockdown pods.
Believe it or not, if I were the blue team, I would actually be a little bit happy with this vortex that the red team got. When you get a vortex, it's such an investment. Your ints and your DPS take a little bit of a pause. And so this gives, one kind of series where Warlaster can actually catch up in the
Yeah.
int count.
And then also at the same time, as long as you're careful about positioning and stuff, you don't really have to worry about that text. So yeah, you're right. It does cause a little bit of a breather to be made for 3M. Admin 6 warped in and he has Frenzy, which is a little frightening because he has 11 tenths and 11 bile, 10 range, so he's becoming a force to be reckoned with, and he has over 15k health.
And
Maggie,
that's enough range where it's dangerous to be contained. They can just sit on your tower.
yep,
Beggy is pushing out on the card.
with protective field and his bots, now 11 lasers. And again, now, as we saw last game, Freelancer Lions was forced to, Waralister warped in, 18 ints now, so he's caught up on the ints, but of course 2 carriers versus 1, there's not much of a contest.
It's very
There
smart.
was, I'm seeing a vortex maybe, perhaps on Stone? No, no vortex.
Stone Cold does have Vortex, but he's not using it. Look at the way that Rebellion's team is dealing with this situation. They were getting pushed hard by the Destro. Instead, they launch on Riker, the Raven behind. Raven has to go back. He has to protect himself. Now then, Beggy is out there without the support of the D-Matrix and the EMP. It's a very smart way to play that situation. Big launch on Riker. He's at the tower, so I think he'll be okay.
But still, it's a scary moment for 3M, because if they just mess up, if there's a derp, then one of them can easily be sniped. But all this DPS coming from the Freelancer Lions,
That's right. Lose any ship, and
then
there's no
the
chance
comp
to
falls
come
apart.
back. And
Yeah,
just to remind the audience, this is game 3. This is it.
this is for the title.
So Warlaster is up to 18 interceptors. He does have warp in with 300 energy. Look at Stone Cold. I love that. Just walking in, acting like he's going to vortex. It's a great feint from Stone Cold,
Yep.
and something a lot of the better carriers do. Just making him go back, even though he actually had no plan on using that vortex.
Yep. And the trick is what? You don't use the A key, you use the R key to make your ship swing around like that.
That's a great point. Oh, Ultima Theory, victim of a heavy launch, and now burning. Not going to die. There's nobody in range to do any additional damage to him. But
And that's the problem, is that the old car right now just can't capitalize on ships that they bring down to that burning red or orange point. And look, with Admin 6 looking even more scary, 15 tenths, 14 bile, this is just looking to become impossible, just because you have this giant levy floating around. Though I have a question, how do Zerg ships fly in space?
man has asked that question since the dawn of time.
Or since the future, since StarCraft is in the future, right?
You'll have to wait for the Star Battle official novelization to find out the answer to that and other contested plot points.
Bellion's broods are now level 10, so you can't ignore them anymore. When something is level, when a corruptor or brilliants are level 1 or something, not so bad, but once they start to get up there, you have to start dealing with them directly.
Well, and he does have the Brood Lords now, and I believe he also has the, whatever that thing is that makes it spawn more Broodlings.
Anabolic? No.
No, the one that makes it spawn double gamete mitosis. It's an upgrade that makes you spawn 2 Broodlings at the speed that you would spawn 1 Broodling.
That's very scary.
So we have Siphon now on Existential. which is, is fine. That's probably a good path for them. They need a little bit of denial, which is very whacking right now. But the problem is he only has 9 range, and he's been parasited, so he's going to have to dive for that a little bit. And, oh,
The
yep.
first siphon off on Rebellions. Now
A little bit of a
Riker's
derp stop.
started on the upgrade path for cooldown on D Matrix. And he's slowly reducing the cooldown for that.
Okay.
Ooh.
There's a little bit of a push on Luigi, and you notice Nut Butter just broke out the Psy Blast, I believe, for the first time. That's the way I like to use it. Wait until there's a chance that you can get a kill and blast.
Yeah, before you reveal you have it. And looks like Beggy's going to try to set up a war point, and this is the desperation move we were talking about. But of course, the Lions team is definitely aware that, well, this is what they did in their own, when they were on the opposite side. So they know a warp trick is coming, and they know exactly where to go. They're pinging. Beggy's still going to try to do, because perhaps he can buy a little bit of space for his team to get some farm.
They did just see it. Warlaster warping in. He does not have Vortex.
19 ints, though.
Keeping up with his 2-shot, 19 ints, but not that much more than he did before. So, it's just showing he's struggling to farm.
Yeah.
Now, let's see if they switch to the Raven here. They do.
And same for Luigi. He only has 12 biles, 6. He only has 12 biles, 6 tents, and look, he only has 375 energy. So for a guy with level 4 corruptors, that's not a lot of energy, and acid spray and rapid regen.
Well, I was just going to say what I'd actually love to see from Luigi is either the acid spray on those ints, or at least drop some corruptors and help beat up on the ints a little bit when the Raven gets launched on.
He's pretty short on energy.
Pushing on admin 6.
Though he's frenzied, so he's going to be able to get away and clear up any ints that ever get thrown on him.
And do a lot of damage in the meantime.
Yep, with his 18 tents, 15 bile, and 9 armor on 15.4k health.
So I actually just noticed this, but Nut Butter got Swarm Command.
Oh.
It's an interesting move. Swarm Command is sometimes a little bit kind of snickered at. A lot of people don't get it in IHs, but I don't know, maybe they're thinking something like, well, Swarm Command will help continue this contain. We're already going a little bit of a minion build on Rebellions.
Bit of a push on War Alistair here, but he's going to be fine. The rest of the team is behind him. Luigi works in. But again,
and immediately plagued.
Yep, and he can't stand toe-to-toe with admin 6. War Alistair is calling that there's lag. Ladani, I'm going to make it your cam. I'm going to start looking out and seeing if it's me that's lagging the game.
That's very strange. For some reason, I'm not getting any chats or pings.
Really?
Unless he chatted you on TeamSpeak. But I am starting to get a little bit of a lag as well, and
That's the Swarm Command lag, probably.
Admin 6 is pushing on Existential. If he frenzies here, no, he won't frenzy, and there is a force field there to save him. But people do complain about Swarm Command causing lags, and minions in general, so I'm not surprised that we start to see it now.
Yeah, we have Broods, we have Corruptors, and we now have Swarm Command, so guys, I don't think this is going to get any better. Maybe in tournament there should be a rule. You're not allowed to have all of these spawned units in one game.
Not a bad idea.
And then, of course, you get later in the game, the lag gets even worse. Nope, my ping is very, very acceptable right now. So it's definitely not me.
It's definitely a graphics lag. When I move away from the battle, the lag abates. Alright, so the blue team is able to push out a little bit, and maybe for the first time they have been plagued to death a million times. Parasite just goes off on Beggy. Nice Bombard Storm combo, taking down those ints.
Let's take a look at have we looked at the farm count recently?
No, we have not. It is not looking good for Team Blue. 3,600 to 2,600. So, well,
actually, that's not so bad.
Good, that's a less of a gap than there was before, when there was almost a 50%. Now it's a little bit less than that.
It's still 1,000. It's still about 1,000 farm, but you're right. At this point, if the Lions that actually kept up their contain, they should be even more ahead right now. So it looks like some good play on the side of the 3M is actually helping them out. Though they're still ridiculously behind. I'm sorry, guys. You're still ridiculously behind.
It's a great point. You have to be honest about it. But at the same time, let's see where the trend line goes from here. I mean, We're starting to see a lot more AoE, a lot more energy from the blue team, and they're able to AoE down some of these imps, which of course is the vast majority of the DPS.
18, 10, 16 bile on admin. That's just making me think, oh gosh, OP Levy. Luigi's still, now he's getting more armor to counteract the ints.
Beggy did not have enough energy in that moment to bombard, so Riker is going to suffer for it. And look at those shields go down.
Vaporizing. And Admin 6 can basically just push Luigi where he wants because he's so tanky and deals so much DPS.
Big launch on Riker. They better... Okay.
Admin's pushing a bit, but he's not even going for the kill. He can just play the waiting game at this point. And I'm seeing more lag on this. Apparently, the stream is not showing lag, even though I'm showing it. I think it's just my connection. But if you're seeing any lag right now, guys, the game is actually stuttering slightly. So, don't be alarmed. And don't blame me.
Point number one.
Captains,
don't blame Artemis.
Yeah, don't blame me. Captains, don't kick me out.
Alright, so why don't we just take a look at the upgrades real quick. So, Broodlings are up to level 19, and they are sieging on that tower, basically beating up Luigi. It's not going to kill him, but it's going to force him to go back so that they can concentrate on the tower, which is what they'd really like to do to cement their lead here. Admin 6, he is at 15,400 life, 11 armor, 18 tense, and 16 bile at 10 range. Compared to Luigi, it's like double digits versus single digits. Luigi, 14,600 life, 7 armor, 7 tense, 12 bile, and range.
And I know that Luigi's putting a lot of... He's trying to get increase his damage, but I feel like he should be going more into the energy just for the rapid regen, the acid spray, and of course his corruptors. I think he should be putting a bit more faith in his corruptors. Could be wrong. Maybe that's strategically not a good thing, but you can't go toe-to-toe with Admin 6.
You know, that's a great point. You know, if each bile exchange that you get into, each tentacle exchange that you get into, you're coming out the loser. So you need to have some kind of asymmetric advantage, whether it be corruptors or whatnot, to soak up those tents and do a little bit more damage yourself.
At the same time, though, Admin 6 has so much health and the armor, it's not going to be that much
Frenzy.
Yeah, and Rebellion's also, the Guardian also has armor too, so it's not like it's the be-all, end-all, but it could possibly help.
So one question we might want to ask is, whatever happened to Siege Mode? Beggy had a quick one-shot at the 10-minute mark, and it looked like they possibly could go in the Siege Mode direction. He has 11 lasers right now, hasn't really kept up his lasers, but we're at the point of the game where their towers are not going to last another 10 minutes. You may want to think about starting up and saving for Siege. Just on that one volley, they got two-thirds of the tower overall HP down. So I think Beggy, probably his goal right now is to get 400 minerals so they can go back and siege.
Because going mines doesn't really make sense because with Rebellions with his broods, and Admin 6 could always go corruptors. That would partially negate the advantage, though maybe. Beggy does have 500 energy. I'm just tossing it out there. They only had the BC Seabone for... Oh no, they have Admin 6 and they have Seabone, so that wouldn't really work so well for mines. Because the Acid Splash and the Scan would counter.
Alright, well the lag, the stutter is getting to be a little bit worse for me, even when I'm looking back at the red base.
Yep, go to a more empty part of the screen and it looks a little better.
Good job for the blue team here pushing. I think a lot of teams in this situation would be so fearful of the warp that they actually wouldn't push and farm. The blue team they have enough confidence or enough risk takers to say, okay, let's go ahead and just farm while we can, even if there's a warp possible.
Did they get an observer, perhaps? I don't see an observer.
I don't see one either. I don't think they have one.
Don't think they can afford it. And we have Cloak on Bunny, so definitely a saving grace there.
It's, yeah, Cloak will save you, although it can also kill you if you're the one getting launched on. Speaking of which, Ultima Theory at 18 ints and Stone Cold at 16 ints, still only one Vortex, and that is the one on Stone Cold.
Yep. Parasite's going to be off in about 2 minutes, so we're going to see Rebellions try to get another play to get another Parasite off. He's at 9 armor, 15 spine, and again, still the 19 broods.
Admin 6 frenzied just to push one of their ships back a little bit.
I say Seabone is the most, aside from the fact he has D shield, is definitely one of the most vulnerable here. It's only one armor upgrade, 10 lasers. Doesn't not really contribute as much to the DPS. I haven't been seeing many lockdowns.
Yeah, you're right. To be honest, I
Yes.
forgot that he had lockdown.
Sorry, CS1, not Seabone.
That's okay. Well, you know what? It's almost a statement as about how well Rebellion's team is doing. Usually lockdown's such a critical skill, it can make or break you. And yet, Verified, my clanmate, I'm not sure how much he's really been contributing to this, and yet they're still ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Warlast are suffering from heavy int launches here.
And this is a saving grace of the Lions' comp. If they lose any one ship, are they screwed? And I don't think so. They're still very strong. Even if they lose the BC, they're still fine. Lose a carrier, still fine. Text
Oh, here
by
comes the
Stone
Vortex.
Cold.
And Warlaster has to get back or else he's gonna die.
And he doesn't have text. He can't even text to save himself.
No one is going to be able to stick around here. Oh, we have a frenzy on Admin 6 pushing back the lead.
Perfect textbook pushback. Textbook pushback by the carriers, by the levy, pushing on Beggy. Of course, good recovery. And guys, I'm seeing this lag too, so it's not just the stream, but good recovery by
Not
3M.
enough to get the kill, and
I
it
think they
makes
could have done
sense.
it.
It was very close to their towers, but they were able to do a lot of damage without getting as much damage in return.
And they
although
can just
Stone Cold
camp
was
outside the
looking pretty beat
towers.
up. Exactly. Yeah, I think probably what they're hoping to do now is just do enough damage to set up a push on one of the towers. Let Rebellions just sit there with his broodlings. Although I guess Stone Cold got beat up enough that they want to just go back and
Warlaster
upgrade.
warped in with level 24 int, so he's completely foregoing any techs. So basically you're just relying on defensive matrix and cloak to save, and Warlaster's just going for pure DPS, possibly try to snipe one of the BCs and also handle the broodlings.
I think it's the right call from Warlaster. They need to just be able to stay in this game somehow. The Vortex.
Bunny
it's
is
a
getting
game
caught a little
changer.
bit out of place.
It looks like they're gonna pause.
Bunny's gonna have a problem. Oh, Bunny!
Oh.
Bunny, stop! Did you see that?
I did see that. I don't know if the audience saw that, but Bunny actually stopped his ship to cast that force field right before the
You
lag.
gotta shift click. That is the thing. And one thing in Star Battle, you always have to keep moving. And with admin right there, look at this. You can see the carrier just launched their ints. You have a guardian that can plop as many broodlings as it wants. This could be a problem. We could lose the arbiter.
I don't know how the Arbiter is going to survive here. It's funny, shift clicking. You're right. You have to do it. I think probably what he did. It's a classic mistake that I do sometimes, where you shift click a little bit too late. You want to get the placement of your spell right, and then you shift click, and then
And
it actually
here we go.
causes you to stop.
D shield on Bunny, possibly. There goes the D shield. But it looks
Okay.
like the Lions aren't going to take that kill. They maybe just don't want to risk it, but I think they could have.
Probably the pause gave them a little bit of time to just think about what was going on, even though it was
Yeah.
Stone Cold's pause. They were able to get their act together and strategize.
And by default, most teams, when they're faced with a pause, they'll generally just go back by reflex. It's better to just go back, not risk losing a ship.
A great point. Parasite on Beggy yet again.
11, so still no siege on him, 11 lasers. I'm scared to look at Admin 6 right now. 15 over 16.2k health, 15 armor, 23 tense, and 19 bile. He should be thinking maybe getting 11 range at this point. There's not much else he can get.
The lag issue is getting really bad for me, and I think
Yeah.
I may know why, which is we actually have Swarm Command on both overworlds now. Existential just got it, I just noticed.
Dang it. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. And for all the people watching the stream, you're not the only ones seeing this. We're seeing it too, so we just have to live through it. Not as bad as the lag I did see on some last tourney on some streams, whereas basically it was like a stop motion every 3 seconds during a critical text. Frame 1, text goes off. Frame 2, text over.
Let's do an int count here. We have 18 on Ultimate Theory and 17 on Stone. So after that pause for the spell casting, they've they've stepped up their in production. Of course, War still has the most at 24, but hey, I'd rather take two with 17 and 18 than one with 24 any day.
Exactly. Unless War can catch somebody off guard not near the carriers, that would be the ideal situation where you can snipe someone. So let's take a look at the farm count. 40, almost 5,000 farm for the Lions, and 3,400 farm for 3M.
Okay, so we're basically back to the situation where it's about a 50% advantage. It's
Yeah.
interesting. This game, it has been heavily in Rebellion's favor since the beginning, but it's been stable enough for the blue team to just kind of hang in there at a relatively steady disadvantage, not really getting that much more ahead, although it seemed like there was a moment where they got a little bit more ahead, but not really getting any further behind either.
Yeah, they're still fully under the control of the Lions, I would say. They're still reacting and they're still trying to find. They're basically just waiting for an opening. They're waiting for someone to make a mistake. Perhaps Cson will make a mistake, or one of the newer players. Well, actually, not as many newer players, but hoping for a newer player to make a mistake. Yeah, that's the nature of this thing, guys. You're not going to see some interesting derps, but that's what happens at high level play. You're just waiting for someone to derp. So the question is, did you win the game by the comp? Did you win the game by the skill, or did the other team just lose the game by derping? And there are different kinds of wins you can get in Star Battle. So even though you win all the time, you may be just winning because the other team made a derp.
Well, you know, the
So
lack of
different
derps
elements.
on the blue team, I think, is something worth commenting on. It's why you run a comp like this that you're very comfortable with. I think, you know, when they run Old Car, they play it conservative. And they play it basically everybody knowing that their priority is not to die, their priority is just to live and get more powerful. And that's the way they've been able to play this game, even though there have been times where they've been in danger. And this is one of
Heavy
them.
push on Beggy Ice. He's got corruption. He has everything. Goodness. Corruption, a frenzy levy on his tail, but he's covered by the protective field, and Riker still has full shields. Bunny still has full energy, all ready to transfer, and Luigi also has a
Wow.
chrono boosted levy.
I love that corruption from Admin 6. It is such an underused spell, but if you think about it, Frenzy gives you double, Corruption gives you another 20%, so now you're doing 240% damage. Great idea from Admin 6. Really underused ability, and just showing more of the creativity and unorthodox nature of the Rebellion's team.
And also, is it just me or did Bunny only just get Chrono Boost?
I think that's right. I think that's right. He opted for the cloak early on, which is, of course, a big investment.
I wonder he hasn't really been utilizing the cloak. I think it's just because they were so worried they didn't want Warlaster to have to be forced to get tech, so they had Bunny get cloak. But I think the Chrono Boost is going to be much more useful to try to help 3M try to get back on their feet. It'll even up the playing field a little bit for Luigi versus Admin 6.
Well, you know, I have to ask the question again. When are we going to see Siege from Beggy? Now we have the Chrono Boost to make it all fit together. I think it's probably best that they haven't gotten Siege until now, because that allowed Beggy to concentrate on Mukes and Bombard and Energy and other things to kind of keep the push going. But let's be realistic. They're going to be able to take out their towers sometime, you know, in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And I think they're going to want to have enough money to get Siege when that happens.
Yep. And Beggy doesn't even have that many lasers to begin with. Look, he doesn't even have that many minerals right now, so it's not even like he's going in for an OP siege. It's just going to be sort of a so-so 12 laser siege.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not that many lasers at 52 minutes. Actually, at 52 minutes, you know, I think it's just a little bit more than 2-shot. So, you know, he really doesn't have that many more lasers than, you know, even the Raven does. He has 10 lasers right now.
And I don't know if you saw this, but Seabone, sorry, CS1, oh gosh, I'll just call you CS, how about that? Or the BC. The BC got launched on by War, and it took 2 pods to even remotely get close to damage those interceptors, and there's still interceptors that managed to hit him. So that's the power of the level 25 ints that War Alistair has, and if he can just launch when none of the other ships are around, that will help.
Just for people who don't know, CS1, that's actually a Cyberdyne Systems EU account that is currently being used by Verified, who is my clanmate on Cyberdyne. Okay, Ultima Theory, everybody else getting pushed back. They may wonder if Warlaster has techs. He's acting like he does. I know he likes to fake it too.
Luigi just got 15.4k health.
I have
Quick,
a queasy feeling about this push.
me too, and the lag is not making me feel any better about it. Just a quick note, I got a note from Ario, just make sure we keep an eye on what the inexperienced players are doing. And Beggy is going down. He was in the red, burning in the techs. And he's got
I
corruption, he has he's heavily damaged, he's everything. And Warlaster doesn't even have text to save. I don't think Beggy's
I
going to
don't know
survive
how
this.
Beggy is going to survive.
He's not going to.
We can see D Matrix, but he has a cooldown of 8. That's not going to be enough. You need the max cooldown. You need
And,
PDDs.
yeah,
He's
E-Shield
dead.
pop dead. So we never got to see the siege from Beggy. And take a look at this. Even with all that crazy push, the Lions still look really good. They're still pretty healthy as far as I judge.
The lag is getting so bad. I'm moving my camera away. I hope we don't see any QQing from the 3M team about getting vortexed in a game with lag. You do hear people, say that kind of. It's easier to get vortex when there's lagging. But I think Artemis, both you and I had this instinctive queasy feeling about that push, just knowing that they were kind of pushing more than they really
Should.
could or should, and that eventually Rebellions was going to call their bluff and turn.
Yeah.
He
And we
may
have a
been
nuke
done
on
if they hadn't
we have a
vortexed.
nuke on CS1. So CS1 didn't actually use the nuke in the last push, but it wasn't necessary to kill Beggy. So now we have not only another deterrent for a push, but we also have something else to help kill when we have another text come down. Ultimate Theory, the carrier for the Lions now as the bubble shield, level 18 ints.
Well,
Nut Butter keeps upgrading his Psy Blast.
it's 6 on 5 now, and it's always worth checking out the farm count after a kill. We have 5,600 from the red team, 3,300 from the blue team, just notching up farther. And now without Siege, boy, yeah.
This is not looking good for 3M. This is sort of the similar feeling I had watching the grand finals of NA7. Like, like you're still in the game, sort of, but it's just sort of going swirling down the drain.
Of course,
Oh, another stop by Bunny on this thing. Just those little tiny... Again, it could have been lag. Perhaps he was actually still moving, but it's those little tiny things at this point that can cause you to get killed. But overall, still pretty good play from the players all around.
okay, we are seeing the lawn towers. Luigi is hanging out there, getting his tents on those ints and shooting it with acid spray. I don't think they're actually going to go for the towers now.
One tower's
they're
already
kind of
gone. We missed one.
sorry,
I missed that too. One tower's gone.
fantastic.
So the sense of going down the toilet in a
Well, shame
circle.
on us.
Wow.
Um,
You can blame lag, right?
exactly.
Blame the
I
lag.
was just gonna say, I think they just want to put a little bit of a pressure on that tower. They're probably going to go back and get one final round of ups. No, they don't know if Warlaster has Vortex, even though he is parasited. He is up to 28 interceptors now, which is honestly that's a huge amount
Yeah.
of DPS. But it's kind of all they have now.
Riker now's blackout. Nice lockdown by C1, CS1. I'm sorry, by the battle cruiser.
I know him as verified.
Yeah, verified. I'm just gonna say the battle cruiser done. We have a blackout by Riker, so that could help actually. This could completely negate potential techs or just half the ints.
Look at his broods. Push War back on the right side.
Level 19 brood still. Rebellion's just putting all his extra minerals into his needle spines to counteract Warlaster.
War would love to launch on those broods, and he is, but yeah, you've really got to launch a lot on them because Rebellions is sitting there with 23 needle spines, which shoot so fast they can basically take down those ints even before they get to the broods. The broods themselves are level 19.
And of course, with Warlaster tied up dealing with the broods, that means that the other members of the team have to somehow deal with the rest of the double carriers, with the Psy Blast, etc., etc. And also, don't forget the Swarm Command, which is getting stronger as time goes by. The Swarm Command is now level 10 broods. I don't know, that's actually... Yeah, that's a Swarm Command brood I'm looking at right now.
Mm-hmm. And it just got upgraded 10 seconds ago. It's now level 12. This game is becoming almost unplayable. So
Tex on
Luigi
Luigi
is
at
in
the top.
vortex. Nobody is to be able to get anywhere near. I
No
mean,
one's gonna save
Warlaster
him.
maybe want to pretend as though he has a text, but he knows he doesn't.
Yeah, with
That's
level
curtain so Luigi.
26, that's not gonna happen. There we go.
And we'll be seeing GG in it now.
Yep, any minute. They may try to play it out, but guys, this is pretty much a GG. We sort of had a feeling earlier on, but that's what happens. This is the metagame, and that's what's so interesting about the best of threes.
You're exactly right. The comp got countered, and I made this point earlier in the game. You know, for people who weren't listening, each time one of these teams repeated a comp, they got countered and punished for it. This is a lesson for future people in the finals of tournaments. If you run a comp twice, the other team may very well counter it. The only thing you can kind of hope for is like the reverse psychology of, well, we know you know that we're not going to do it, so we actually will do it.
But most
In
of the
this case,
time,
that
people
didn't
counter
work.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
This happened with Eclipsis versus Mace. That's how we lost. That's how we lost game 2, or yeah, we repeated the same comp for game 2, and then same thing happened in the same thing happened in the finals, except we went for a scout cheese or scout build. It's not technically a cheese, but then it was expected because during the whole tourney, scout cheese came up a couple of times.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep, and that's what happens. You have to have at least 4 good comps in your pocket that you can pull out at any one time.
Lag is just getting worse and worse. I don't
Yep.
know about for you, Artemis, but
It's pretty
I'm,
bad for me. I'm on the stream, like, it's viewable, but I'm sorry, guys, just not much we can do about it. This
I'm
is a
getting
game
less than
limitation.
1 frame per second.
Admin 6 is pretty much on top of this tower, and this tower is going down no matter how many force fields Bunny throws on top of it. Chrono Boost on Warlaster, 28 inch still, no text, but he does have 400 minerals, so he may be going back to get it. The Battle Cruiser just potting his way through everything. 25 level broodlings from Rebellions. Just massive, massive broodlings.
Admin 6 is at 26 bile, I think you just mentioned. So,
Yeah.
you know, they're just going to be sieging on this on this base.
Yep. Warlaster
They
did
may
get a
even just
text.
launching at the base at this point.
The broods could take
Okay.
the broods could take care of it. Warlaster does have text, but he doesn't have the energy to use it.
Warlaster, he has. Oh boy, Admin 6 going in for the kill.
Yep.
He sees somebody low, he's going for that ARB.
I don't even know how you could target anything in that mess. It's a lot of health bars. There we go, guys. Got rid of the health bars for a minute.
And
Crazy.
It's now 6 on 3, and let's see how long Admin 6 chooses to just hang out there.
There goes the 2 support ships, the Raven and the Arbiter. And I think Warlaster texted himself with
He
the
texted
Overlord.
himself, I think, on purpose, and they're going to
And this
kill
is
the
a
base in the
mothership kill,
meantime.
guys. So
That is one of those vortexes. I kind of think of it to myself as a carrier. I think of it as almost like a pride text. You
I'm in
know
my
you
swirling
can't
blue
win.
now.
You know you can't even get 1 kill before you die. All you're going to try to show is that you're not completely impotent. And you do that by vortexing, which is a little bit irritating. And we get the GG well played from
Yep,
Admin 6.
the GT well played, and this was definitely an interesting best of 3. So this means the Freelancer Lions have won the Star Battle EU6 Freelancer tourney. 3M, the Three Musketeers, takes the runner-up place. I don't know who won the 3rd, 4th place match. Lady, I don't know if you can oblige. They were going on at the same time.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm looking. I'm just pulling up the other stream, and I think it's still going. But hey, listen. Hats off to Rebellion's team, and especially to the noobs on their team. I'm thinking of my clanmate Verified, but also Nutbutter. You know, you got to mention these guys. Listen, they're not truly noobs, right? These people in-house every night of the week. Nutbutter, he's a clan leader in his own right. So, you know, is it within the spirit of the tournament? No. Nevertheless, they went through the tournament, and they beat some great teams, including one that was just as stacked as they were. So, great play from Rebellion's team, and especially hats off to their inexperienced players and all the inexperienced players that were able to advance and play well in this tournament.
Yep, I was really impressed by the number of newer players that came to the in-house scene. We'll see, of course, in the coming months or two, how many players transition over from pubs. We hope that you guys sort of got a bit more of a taste for tournaments and how exciting it can be and how it sucks the life out of you for the week beforehand. But this is definitely quite educational as well.
I just turned on the other stream, and they're also having massive lag and complaining about it. It is a tough part about any esport where you have to deal with this lag, but yeah, just to echo what Artemis was just saying, you know, in-house, it's the best. Once you start playing it, you can't go back. The synergy among the ships, the cooperation, it's so exciting and interesting. Nothing in pubs could compare. So I hope that everybody that had a chance to experience in-house level, high-level play really enjoyed it and wants to continue making this a part of their Star Battle experience.
Yep. And there actually are ways you can continue the sort of the Star Battle experience as well. I was asked to plug the Terran Star Battle League, which the signups are still open for. That's going to be going on starting in October, and that is basically a best of three between two teams every week. Currently, we have 6 clans signed up, I believe, and I think you can sign up as individuals as well. Roster size is 25, so it's basically just a play on your own, schedule the time that works, and sort of playing over time, seeing which teams are really the best. We also have NA8, which is coming up, I believe.
That's right. NA8, which I'm co-hosting, is coming up, I believe, October 20th and 21st. So that's just a little bit over a month from now. That is a straight up regular tournament, I guess you might say, where basically the best team wins. But that is not to say, even though there are no freelancer handicaps, that's not to say that you won't have a fair shot to compete. And in fact, Fuel and Omega Star and I have been working on a lot of great ideas to actually have the best of both worlds, where we can have a great competitive balance and make sure that some of the newer teams aren't knocked out of the tournament immediately, but get a chance to play a bunch of games against teams on their level and against teams they can learn things from. So we'd love to see you register at NA8. Come out. It's on the NA server. Just like NA teams came over to the EU server, all you EU people are infinitely welcome on the NA server.
What do people do about accounts and trial keys?
That's a great question. It always comes up, and you know, a lesson learned from the previous tournament. We can be a little bit better about trying to find more trial keys. We had a few. We had enough for one full team, Epic, to come over and play. I'm going to be investigating this and seeing what the trial key situation is. I have to admit, it's harder on NA. It's harder to come up with trial keys, whereas for EU, you can basically buy them online for like literally 30 cents. On the NA server, they're a lot harder to find and more expensive. But you know, if we can find them, we will buy them. So we'll see what we can do.
And I'm just going to do a quick little thing, guys. Since you guys signed up for this tournament, you probably know where to look. But quick thing, I'm just going to show you where you can find this tournament information on PlayStarBattle.com really quickly. And of course, Ladane, you can keep plugging your tournament. I don't mind.
No, there's no need. There'll be plenty of time for plugging later, I'm sure. Most of the people are probably tuning out at this point 6 minutes in the future. After having seen the conclusion of a successful tournament. So maybe all that's left to say is congratulations to you know, Kerberos and the other NA6 hosts for for putting on like a great experience for people, and you know, a way that something the community in the EU wanted to do to bring more people in, and I think what they set out to do, they succeeded in doing. End of story.
I totally agree with you. I thought this was a pretty well-organized tournament. Every tournament has its own controversy. There's no way you can get around some amount of, oh, the brackets aren't set right, the teams aren't set right, subbing rules, etc., etc. But I think overall we still saw a pretty smoothly run tournament, so GG's to the hosts for a job well done. And as always, this is volunteer on their parts, and they put countless hours in, as Ladanian can attest.
As a former tournament host, I can't tell you how much work. I'm sure you guys are thinking, what do they actually do? Just trust me. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of pain, and sometimes when people are QQing, you know, there are those dark moments where you think, why am I doing this? I'm just making myself worse and worse off. The reason they do it is that they love this community and they love you guys. So I really want to thank the hosts, especially Kerberos, who, you know, I think was really the main guy here and just put everything on his back. Congratulations to them for, you know, as I said, succeeding in doing what they set out to do, which is giving people a tournament experience they hadn't had before.
Yep, I think that's a great note to end off on. So I'm going to be around for the next little bit. Actually, there's another event potentially coming up later tonight or today, depending where you are. The Big Bad Dad's 10K Games Party, which I stayed up till 5 a.m. last night for. Big Bad Dad is a player who's been around the community for a long time. He's coming up to his 10,000th rated Star Battle game.
Incredible.
Yep, absolutely incredible, and he knows a lot about the game, done a lot of research over all those 10,000 games. So we got him up to 9,997 games last night, and we want to finish those last 3 games. I casted and streamed some of those games last night. I'll be posting the uploads over time as I get the EU6 ones up. But we hopefully will be having a bit of fun times and lulls in the channels later. So hope to see you guys around for that.
Well, thanks Artemis for having co-cast with you. It was a lot of fun, I have to say.
Yep, thanks for joining me. And again, I want to shout out backwards thanks to Raven Creek for joining me for casting me yesterday during the group stage. That was a lot of fun too. I'm turning off the local recording. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.